What's up everybody, this is Linares with the Villa ArTeam. And we teach a lot of classes. In our field programs we get asked all the time, how do I cut a blunt fringe or how do I perfect a heavy bang? So we put together some stuff to show you today that's going to help you get there in a way that is organized, meticulous, using guides, easily reproducible for those of you that might be a little intimidated by one of the most mystifying of services. So we're going to use reference points on the head to help us identify where the fringe anatomically is first. We can't cut it until we know where it is. So I'm going to look for the corner of her eye. Technically, the corner of the eye is a reference point on the head that lets us know where the face is stopping or the front of the head stops and where it changes into the side of the head. So I'm going to get, for sectioning purposes, right in front of that corner of the eye, and then I can take my comb, place it right there vertically, and if I just rock that into the hairline, you'll see the line that we sectioned off right there to the center. And you'll see that that lands us just in front of the high point of the head. Most people won't actually make it up there unless their head was perfectly round. Most people have a little bit of an oblong shape to the head, so we will find ourselves slightly in front of the high point. Doing the same thing on the other side. Corner of the eye, get myself right in front of it, and then take my comb and just rock that vertically into the hairline, and it lands me in just exactly the same place. What this shows us is how much hair and how much forehead she actually has for this service. We're going to begin by setting a couple of guides just to let us know where exactly we're going to put these points before we start to create the fringe. The guides will give us a certain measure of safety. Instead of just blasting that off and hoping for the best, we're going to plan this out, measure 3 times, cut once. So our first guide is going to come from the point of reference here at the corner of the eye. I'm going to pull off just a few hairs right there in the hairline to give me something for a guide. I'll move to the other side of the head and do exactly the same thing. Kind of fell out on its own already, nice. We're going to take one more at the center of the front of the head. I'll use the bridge of the nose just to let me know exactly where that is. And I'll pull out a few hairs right there too. So now I have a guide that will show me the length at the center and then on both sides. I'm going to focus on those for just a moment. I'm going to take those and put this away. Now that we've got our 3 guides set, we're ready to set those so we can begin to articulate this shape. At the corner of the eye, we're just going to decide where we want the fringe to stop on this right side. Once I know that, I can cut a guide. Do the same thing on the left side. And then once more in the center. I'm holding this with very little tension just to keep it still. Once we have these 3 points located, we can go ahead and take a little bit of hair, just a tiny thin little veneer or just a veil of it, so we can go ahead and set that perimeter in our fringe. So dropped a little bit between these 2 guides, and now we'll step over here and drop a little bit in front of the 2 other guides. And once again, take the rest and get it out of the way for now. So using these guides, we can go ahead and connect these 2 safely, knowing that they're exactly where they want to be. I'm going to use the wide teeth of my short cutting comb just to keep all this hair in place. I don't want tension on this, I just want it to not push away as I cut it. So I'm going to lift the hair, place the comb underneath, and then just kind of tap that hair in there. And what this gives me is a very minimal amount of elevation off the head, just the width of the spine of my comb, about 1/4 of an inch. And then I can adjust this to meet my 2 guides, and when I have that, I'm ready to make my cut. And then I'm just going to go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Close your eye, ma'am. I'll reach across there, place the wide teeth of my comb underneath, make sure that all my guides are in there. That way I'm getting just that minimal bit of elevation. And then I can adjust that angle until I can see both of the guides clearly and then make my cut. So now I have my perimeter, as it were, or my 0-degree cut. And now I can begin to drop this down layer by layer and just blend it to that. So now that we have our perimeter set, we can just drop in little by little and make sure that we make those cuts cleanly. In the past, sometimes it was easy for us just to try and take it all at once, and that could usually result in pushed hair, unwanted over direction, and we find ourselves chipping and chipping and chipping, and that little fringe might tend to climb up the forehead a little bit until it gets cute, and we don't want that. So we're just going to take a tiny little bit of hair and drop this down over the perimeter that we've already cut. If you're worried about it getting out of your control, just keep your section small, and this will help you maintain control over it. And I'm going to repeat the same movements that we've done already. We're going to step in front, get in top underneath that, using the wide teeth of our comb, and set that under there, making sure that both of our guides are in there and visible, and that I'm not getting any hair from the other side of the head. Give that a little tap just to press it up against the spine. Adjust your angle to see both guides, and if your section is fine enough, we'll be able to see the previously cut hair underneath it. So we've got 3 ways to check ourselves: guide, guide, and previously cut section. If I can see all 3 and I feel good, I can make my cut. And let's step over to the other side where we can do the same thing. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of it, and we're getting a little bit more confidence, but don't rush. Keep your movements fine and on purpose. I've got maybe 2 more sections that we can accomplish here. So we'll just drop that into the mix, isolate the other, because we don't need it right now. We'll fuss this into natural fall, and then repeat our same movements. I'm feeling really good now because we can really see the fringe that's living underneath it, and we know that all we have to do now is just stay consistent and we're not going to mess it up. Give that a little tap into the comb. Make sure that you can see both of your guides and the previously cut section, and we can make our cut. You know, my weapon of choice for this is our 7-inch dry cutting shear. What I love about using this tool for this is that it allows my hands to be out of the way. The long blade and the comb, everything is totally visible. And then the very powerful sword blades that we have really move through that hair securely, confidently. I don't feel like I'm going to get any push on this. Last section, we'll just drop that in. Give it a little comb so you can see where it lives. And then our movements should be obvious. We're going to do exactly the same thing we've been doing. Don't give up now. Wide teeth on my comb. Just tap that back in. Feeling really good now. I can see everything, including the hair that we need to cut, and we'll take it. Let's jump to the other side and finish it up. Using the wide teeth of the comb. Spine against her skin. Minimal elevation. Checking both guides and looking for my previously cut section. Once I see all 3, I'm good to go. And that's going to complete our heavy bang across the front. So before we move on into anything else, let's not drop the clips and let anything else into the mix. Let's just look at what we've done and decide how we feel about it. Once we know that we love this, the rest of this is going to tell its own story. So looking at the fringe now, we make the decision with our guest. Get her input on it. Does it look too heavy? Is it too long? What are the details that we need to adjust? And in this case, we've looked at it, and all we feel that's happening is that we love the heavy line that we're getting, but it hangs a little bit like a brick right there. So we're going to alleviate a little bit of that weight using our Invisablend shear. Our Invisablend shear is one of our favorite blenders, 1 out of 2, and a very soft touch. Really good for dry hair and working in critical areas like crowns, fringes, face framing layers, or anytime you need to slide cut using a blending shear. This blade is actually not sharpened, it's just polished. So when these two close, we get a little bit of stretch on the ends, almost like a razor. So very nice for doing very small reductions and leaving very little evidence that you were even there with it. So right here in the front, we'll just give it a light layer, just enough to take some of the heaviness off the bottom. So let's stick to the same section plan that we were using, corner of the eye, and then bridge of the nose or the center of the forehead. We'll divide that right there. The reason that we've done this is that the forehead is a round shape. You know, it doesn't live like a square. So a lot of times when we pull all of it forward to cut it, we're creating elevation and over directions towards the sides of that section. So splitting it down the center line lets us work on this side and then this side of the center line, which works more to the round shape of the head. So taking that line down the center, and I'm going to grab this section, I'll get behind her, and then I'm going to elevate it directly above this little area that it lives in, on that side of the center line. As I elevate up, you'll see my length drop away. That lets me know that my perimeter is secure. Nothing's going to go wrong down there. And then using my Invisablend for a small reduction, I'll give this a love tap, maybe 2. And what that's going to do is it's not going to remove all of the length, it's just going to take away some of that heaviness. So we'll drop that down on this side, and let's have a look. Still keeps a nice heavy line, it just takes a little bit of that weight off the bottom, just perfect. Let's do the other side. Right down the center line, and then elevate without over direction right above the area that it lives. Once you see enough of your length drop out and you know that your perimeter is good, give it a love tap, maybe 2. And that's going to leave all of your length, but just take some of that heaviness off the bottom. So here's where we are. Let's go ahead and release the rest of the hair, bring it down in the mix. She needs a little bit of polish there on the end, so I'm going to take one of my favorite products. It's actually a blow dry lotion, but if you use it really sparingly, it becomes almost like a heavy serum. So when I have clients that have hair that's prone to frizziness or is a little bit heavy, just a drop will do to deal with a certain area. It gives me what I like to call the velvet touch, you know, just for smoothing down that final top layer, calming down any little flyaways that might be in the mix there. Really want to see the polish on this. Get that Parisian chic as we're seeing on Google all the time these days. You know, sometimes we treat the fringe like it's some kind of bizarre animal that requires special handling. It's just hair. It has a perimeter. It has the ability to be layered just like any other part of the head. So if you're feeling a little bit fearful about it, work meticulously, use your guides, take small sections. It's okay to take the fringe all at once and blast it off if that's what you like to do. We get great results doing that all the time. But every now and then, you might want to break it into its individual bite-sized pieces in a way that's easy to understand and, more importantly, easy to reproduce when she comes back and says, I love it, do it again. Well, we hope you found this information interesting, if not useful in your world of hair. We're on social, we're at the shows, we're in your salons. Look for us. I'm Jesse with the Villa ArTeam.